Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to take you along as I make dinner. So we are having chicken croquettes for dinner. It is a favorite of ours. It is a comfort food. It is a little bit higher in point than say, a grilled chicken breast. But when I'm going to have a higher point dinner and it's something I love and something I can't imagine never eating again, I just plan accordingly. So that's what I did today. Now, originally this recipe is made with light butter. We no longer use light butter, so I am substituting regular butter, but I also want to keep the points the same. So I'm doing a little experiment. So if you're seeing this video, I guess it worked. Normally you use 3 tablespoons of butter in the white sauce. I'm going to attempt to use 1 tablespoon of butter and some extra chicken broth. We'll see what happens. I will put the recipe is on the website with the light butter, and I'll just put a little note. I'll go in and edit and add a little note of what I did with the regular butter, if it works. So anyway, let's get turned around and let's get making these chicken croquettes because they need to sit in the refrigerator for a minimum of 2 hours. So this is a really good recipe to get started on either the night before or in the morning, because it does have to sit and chill and like get a little bit firm. So need to get that done early. And it's also a great recipe to use up leftover chicken and leftover turkey. We had a roast chicken on Monday night, so I chopped up what was left over and making the croquettes with that. So let me turn you around, show you what we're using, and get started. Okay, I apologize for the lighting. It is really bright out today, but I don't want to close up all my blinds and windows because I do love the sunshine. So we have a 1/2 cup of 1% milk, 2 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of flour. I have a little bit more. The recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of chicken broth. I have a little bit more because this is what I'm going to try to substitute with some butter. This is my homemade bone broth, but you can use any type of chicken broth you want. I would recommend low sodium. I have 2 cups of chopped, diced, cooked chicken. We're going to need 1.5 cups of plain breadcrumbs, salt, 2 eggs, and a 1/4 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. So that is all the ingredients that we need. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna melt 1 tablespoon of butter in a saucepan on the stove. Now, normally this would be 3 tablespoons of butter, so this is the first part of the experiment. Then I'm just gonna take a little bit of extra broth and add that in, about 2 tablespoons. Then I'm gonna take our 3 tablespoons of flour and whisk that in. I'm just going to stir this around over medium heat for about 1 minute just to cook that flour through. Once that cooks for about a minute, I'm going to add the milk and the broth. 1/2 cup of broth. To pour a little bit out. I had a little too much in there from the extra. And get that whisking around to get that flour broken up. Probably should have used a little bit more broth. Like I said, it's an experiment. I'm gonna let this thicken up just a little bit before I start adding in the broth. It's thickening up very nicely, as you can see. And I'm just gonna constantly whisk it as it's thickening up to break up the flour. Getting an arm workout here today. Okay, that is beautiful. It is thick. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's thick and it's nice and smooth. So I'm thinking this experiment worked. Now I'm just gonna add in the 1/2 cup of broth. Whisk that in and let that cook until it thickens up again. And I am going to stir it constantly to make sure that it does not burn. Okay, it is nice and thick and bubbly. So we're just gonna remove that from the heat and we're gonna let it cool for about 5 minutes while we prepare the chicken filling. Okay, now we're gonna start preparing the chicken filling. And the first thing we need to do is combine the chicken, 2 cups, 1 cup of the breadcrumbs. We're gonna need 1.25 cups total. And then I forgot to mention in the ingredients, we needed some chopped fresh parsley. So I just ran out to the garden and got some parsley. We're lucky our herbs are still producing a lot out there. So we've still got some nice fresh herbs. You can, of course, if you don't have fresh parsley, use dried. I would use 1 tablespoon of dried, 3 tablespoons of fresh. And just mince that all up. I should have a bigger knife. But you know, I'm not a professional. And I don't play dirty in another knife. Just do a little bit more. Should have had this all done, but you know. So how's your day going? What are you doing? Need to make small talk because I'm too lazy to turn the camera off. Yeah, I don't aspire to be a professional YouTuber. Okay. So now we've got our parsley in there. We're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we are going to just give this a quick stir. And then we need some eggs to bind it all together. I am going to wow, the size of that yolk. Way to go, girls. Add the eggs in. Give this a good mix. Get those eggs distributed throughout. Aria is standing here. She heard me say the E word. Aria loves, loves, loves scrambled eggs. You're not getting any, baby. Okay. Now, to further bind it together, we need our sauce. The sauce has been cooling for about 5 minutes, so we are just going to dump it in. It's still pretty warm. And then give it a good stir and make sure it is very, very well combined. You want one cohesive ball of chickeny goodness. And at this point is where we need to chill this mixture for a minimum of 2 hours. Because that way it will get nice and stiff and we will be able to shape our croquettes into 8 equal ovals, get them breaded, and get them in the oven for dinner. So we are gonna cover this, get it in the oven, I don't think so. Get it in the fridge and let it go for 2 hours until it chills and gets stiff. So I'll be back with you a little bit later on. Okay, it's been several hours. So here is my mixture. You can see it did get nice and firm. And I weighed this out and it weighs 890 grams for the whole mixture. And I want to make sure that they're all the same size. So I weighed it out, 890 grams, divided by 8 comes to about 85 grams each, like 85 and a quarter. So I'm gonna go with 85 and be happy. Before we start forming those, I have the leftover 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs that we set aside and a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And I'm just going to give those a quick mix together. That's going to be our coating for our croques. And I have a baking dish sprayed with nonstick spray. 1 tablespoon of butter melted. So to form these, like I said, I want to have them 85 grams each. Darn close. Even closer. Close enough. And I'm just going to shape them into, you can shape them into rounds, or I'm going to make little ovals out of them. You can make them round, you can make them conical, whatever you want to do. And then we're just going to toss them quickly, lightly in our breading and place them right in our dish. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I have no idea where that came from. Cheese. Perfect. And then we're just gonna do all 8 of these and get them in the baking dish. I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees. Okay, so they are all made. The next step, originally you're supposed to melt like 2 tablespoons of butter and drizzle it on top. Because I'm trying to cut down a little on the butter, since I'm not using light butter, I melted it and I'm going to just kind of brush it on. And I think that'll give us a good result. This is just to kind of make it golden brown and crisp it up. So I am just going to brush it on, dab it on, whatever you want to call it. Okay, we might not have enough. Oh, we're going to make it be enough. You see how little bit I'm putting on. If I have to add a little bit more, I don't think the points are going to matter. You know what? We'll give it a little. Good enough. So this is going to go in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. If you want to check it at about 15 minutes, and if you think you want to flip them so the other side gets a little brown, that's fine. I generally don't, but there we have our chicken croques going in the oven. So here is the finished product. A serving size is 2 croquettes. I'm gonna only have 1 for now, but a serving size is 2. And I have 1 tablespoon of homemade chicken gravy on top, and I'm serving it with mashed potatoes and green beans. I'll be right back to tell you the points. Well, my friends, that is it for this cook dinner with me. Let me know down below if this is something you think you would make. We really, really love these. Just pure comfort food, delicious. I know some people would probably freak out about, oh my goodness, 8 points just for the, main dish, or 10 points if you're on green. So yes, it's for 2 croquettes, it's 8 points on blue and purple and 10 points on green. But you have to remember, if you just put some 0-point sides with it, it's really not bad points for dinner. And we love these, and it's not something I'm going to stop eating, so we have to learn to fit it in. I say that all the time. Fit in the food you love. So anyway, that is it for this cook dinner with me, and thank you so much for spending some time with me and watching, and I will talk to you all in my next video.